Crenshaw, and we are live from the 704 once again for episode 140 of the 815 Exchange. And well, we got plenty to talk about. We have a tremendous amount of content for me to talk about this week after, national championships, legendary moments, playoff times, records being broken. It was a busy week. All right, it was a busy week in the world of sports and entertainment. So we now have plenty to talk about, and we always love when that happens. As always, remember to like, share, and subscribe if you guys are enjoying the content. And as I always say, everything you're looking for can be found in the description. So, timestamps. You want to skip to a particular segment, you want to hear me talk about the NBA playoffs and the play-in and the king, skip ahead. You want to hear me talk about that Succession episode, go ahead, skip ahead. Timestamps are provided in the description along with all of my social media links. And with that said, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, let's get this show on the road. College basketball. Okay? The national championship. We're going to go chronologically. I know we had combat sports this week, but you know what? This happened last Monday. It's been 7 days. Let's get this over with and close the chapter of college basketball. What did I say? All right, what did I say? Connecticut are kings of the chaos. Kings of chaos. UConn are kings of chaos, and they proved that they were kings of the chaos because they took out San Diego State 76-59 in the national championship. Dan Hurley and the boys, the Huskies, they get it done, and they claim a 5th national championship for UConn. So it's like I've been saying, man, they are kings of the chaos. When it gets the most most opportunistic, the most, I don't even want to say lucky, just the maddest of marches, and of course they show up. Of course they were the winner. It only makes sense. They thrive in these situations, it seems. UConn thrives in these situations every single time, and they got it done. They remain undefeated in the national championship and undefeated in the Final Four in the Lone Star State. And yeah, Adama Sanogo, he wins most outstanding player. He had 17 and 10 in this game. Tristan Newton had 19 and 10. I do have to give a shout out though, Andre Jackson. Even though, if you look at the stat line, you'd probably be like, okay, he didn't do too much. But he was all over this game. Dre was all over this game, doing all of the little things for UConn to really make that machine work. Whether it was defensively, whether it was passing and facilitating, whether it was, getting a bucket when necessary, making the right play. That's what Andre Jackson Jr. did in this game for UConn. He was the engine. He did a great job, and he was like this pretty much the entire year for them. So shout out to Dre. Donovan Cleveland is going to be a very, very good player. I think a lot of people knew that coming out of high school, but him and Sanogo, especially down the stretch, were a really good duo down there for UConn. And yeah, Hurley gets his title. San Diego State. Got San Diego Stated. I'm going to be honest. UConn, San Diego State. Lamont Butler still went over double figures, the Final Four hero. So on and so forth. Matt Bradley. But they had one of the worst shooting nights I've seen in a national championship, probably of all time. Around 30%, both from the field and from three. It was ugly. All right, it was ugly. UConn had the boys, and Alcatraz and the Aztecs couldn't do anything. Couldn't get any momentum going. They looked out of their depth. And I know with UConn and with a tournament this chaotic, you might think, man, as we always sometimes ask in the NCAA tournament, does the best team always win the NCAA tournament? Because of the nature of the tournament. Does the best team always win? And especially with this tournament, with everything that happened, how can the best team still win the tournament? And honestly, I feel like UConn has an argument. I wouldn't rule it out. I don't think this was done off of luck. I think this was perfectly viable of happening. This was talent. This happened. It was purposeful. UConn, if we remember, earlier in the season, got up to number 2 in the country before they hit that losing streak in the beginning of the year. They were amongst the elites. Then when we got to the tournament here, they beat every single first team since 2018 Villanova, also 2009 Carolina's in this club. They beat every single team they played in the NCAA tournament by more than 10 points. This was dominance. This was not close. So UCONN, despite the chaos, despite the madness, despite the upsets, despite everything that happened over the past month and a half in, you know, the tournament we love to call March Madness, they are a deserving winner. And they very may well have been the best team in the nation this year. They certainly have the title in the ring to prove it. So congratulations to UCONN. They get it done. They join the Five Timers Club with Duke and a bunch of others. But yeah, UCONN, they're the best. They get it done. They take out San Diego State. Congratulations to whoever won bracketology, because I know it certainly wasn't me. Now, combat sports, man. All right. UFC 287. We are in South Beach in the 305 for this one. Headlined, of course, by the major rematch. Again, the fourth time they fought. Between Israel, the last title winner, Adesanya, and who was at the time the middleweight champion, Alex Potan Pereira, who is honestly probably one of the scariest human beings on the planet. He looks like a serial killer. Okay, I tweeted this out multiple times. Listen, Potan looks like the guy. He's had Izzy's up to this point. He's had Izzy's number. Izzy has just not been able to, whatever reason, beat Alex. Whether it was unlucky on a decision or getting knocked out and then getting knocked out again, it did not look like Israel, for whatever reason, he could not beat Alex Pereira. For whatever reason. But on Saturday night, Sunday morning, Easter, he is risen. Israel Adesanya walked out to Headstrong by Trapped, had a collar around his neck, and he was off the leash. Izzy was off the leash. And what followed was one of the most iconic moments in the history of mixed martial arts, as Israel Adesanya reclaimed his throne and gets his revenge against Potan with a vicious overhand right, another vicious overhand right, a left just for nice measure, and let me throw in a super necessary hammer fist. And oh my goodness, we have a new middleweight champion, and it's new again. Izzy gets it done. Izzy gets it done. He gets it done. I made a unhuman noise from my room watching that. I was in full status. You know, I'm not wrong very often. When it comes to sports, I'm not wrong very often. I would never been so glad to be wrong in my life. I mean, I felt doom. I felt nothing but doom. Doom. Watching this entire week, watching the events, I was just like, is this going to get put on the pasture? I texted my friends, I was like, it's going to get put on a Gildan. It's done. It's done. Oh, Izzy might be finished. But I was wrong, and I've never been so happy to be wrong. Never been so happy to be wrong. Oh my goodness. I mean, just a complete change in game plan, right? Even though he still did circle, Izzy came out from the jump, instantly more aggressive, right? He knew, and I think somebody summarized this very perfectly. I forget what social media platform I saw this on, but Izzy knows there's a couple different ways, right? He could beat Alex, right? He could point fight him, right? But he'd have to be perfect. He'd have to be perfect. He couldn't slip up once. No mistakes, or what happened last fight is what will happen. Or he can go in there and he can trade. He can go through the fire and say, you know what? I've hurt Alex Pereira multiple times. 8 count kickboxing. If there was 15 more seconds in the first round of the last fight, we'd have had the same result we got this fight, by the way. I can hurt Alex. So maybe I just need to go and trade. So he decided to go and trade. He was more aggressive. He brought the fight to Alex. Very exciting fight, very tense fight once again. Again, a super high-level striking match. And in that second round, as time, came down, Alex was investing once again heavily in the leg kicks. Looked like they were working. As Izzy had to almost really exclusively switch to southpaw, so that his left leg wouldn't go into mush. Alex lands a kick. Izzy trades, tries to clinch. Alex started doing a very good job of cutting off the cage. He cuts off the cage. And it's the scariest thing you can have in mixed martial arts if you're another mixed martial artist. And that's Alex Pereira throwing combos at you and you have nowhere to go except to defend yourself. And we thought, and many other people thought, oh boy, here we go again. Izzy's in trouble. He's going to get knocked out. It looked like a mirror almost of the ending of last fight. He landed, a nasty hook. A nasty hook to the body. It was the natural Alex combos that has put so many people out. But Israel Adesanya did not get here by not being Israel Adesanya. He's the last style winner. He's an all-time great. One of the greatest to ever do it. So what would Izzy do? He does what he does best, and that's counterpunch. And he landed a disgusting, what ended up actually being a 1-2. Because he snuck in with the left hook of doom coming. Snuck in, touched Alex to build the momentum off. And then beat him with the overhand right. That rocked Alex. He hit him with another one. That really put him to sleep. Hit him with a left, and like I said, his head hit the back, and that was all she wrote. Which had to be a crazy moment for Alex. I mean, just imagine you're thinking, I'm going in for the kill. This is the sweep, and then all of a sudden you sleep, and you wake up like, what happened? Had to be a crazy sequence of events for him. But yes, Stylebender puts Potan down, and chaos erupts. American Airlines just goes ballistic. Everybody's losing their minds, the NFL players, the other fighters. Hell, Trump got up off his feet. I mean, it was pandemonium. All right, pandemonium. And then he proceeded to hit the coldest celebration I have ever seen in my life. 3 arrows for each of the 3 losses. Then he broke the bow. Then he walked around. And if you didn't remember from their kickboxing saga, Pereira's kid, Potan's kid, did the whole fall down, act like I'm dead after, Izzy got knocked out by Alex. So Izzy once again found a crying Potan's kid and repaid the favor, then hit a smooth Shawn Michaels kid bump. It was legendary. It was a legendary moment, incredible scenes. Then he had an all-time great speech. Listen, he was riding high. Then he went to 11, and that was electric. Okay, it was just an insane, legendary night for Israel Adesanya. That cemented his place atop the legendary list of fighters we have ever seen. Just pandemonium. Alright, I've never been so happy to be wrong. Izzy is him. Probably popped up I probably popped up both of them. Alright, coldest photos possibly in the history of MMA. He's him. Alright, Izzy is him. I would never doubt the boy again. Who knows who's next? Because I think Alex is going to 205 because he's starving himself to go 185. So we'll see what happens. But yeah, the king is back. The king is back. The king is back. Jorge Masvidal got retired by Gilbert Burns. I said this was going to happen last week, so there's really no surprise. Okay, Masvidal is just, listen, he had his moment in the sun. One fantastic knee, and that was it. He was a solid, pretty good fighter, contender in his prime, but he was definitely not in his prime these last couple fights. He hadn't won since 2019. It was time to wrap it up. And look, at least he made it to decision. I didn't know if he was going to make it that far. But he did. He did. So credit where credit is due. Burns versus Rocky next. I would be okay with that. I know Burns threatened Dana and was like, I'm going to fire me if I don't get the next title shot. So we'll see what happens there, but I'd be in favor. I think Burns didn't look as good as I thought he would look actually in this fight, though, if I'm going to be completely honest. I expected him to look a little bit better than he did in this fight, and he didn't really look that good, so we'll see. But yeah, I probably got Leon in that fight. But congrats to Burns, Masvidal. Enjoy retirement. It was pretty much overdue. Rob Font KOs Adrian Yanez. This was the day the hype train died. Okay, all of the hype trains got put out to pasture. Okay, they got put out to pasture. The Yanez hype train put out to pasture. Rob Font, legendary bantamweight, gatekeeper to the contenders, and yeah, he closed the gate. Closed the gate on Yanez with a KO in round 1. Yanez was looking good. It was looking like this was going to be, I knew this was going to be a good fight. It was a war. It was a war, don't get me wrong. Font even got bruised up in the little time we had in this fight. It was a war. For the 1 round, and we had it. It was a war. But Font was just a little bit better. Just a little bit faster. that power hit a little bit harder. And that was enough. Simply put, that was enough. Yanez rocked. Yanez did not regain his head movement, did not regain that famed boxing skill, and Font finished him. Simply put, he didn't put him to sleep, but he finished him. Yanez takes that L. I think he'll be alright. He's young, learning experience. Font, much needed win. Congratulations to the boy after a year off. Kevin Holland, Big Mouth, the Trailblazer. He took on Santiago, and well, Santi was, it was competitive. It was competitive, but then Raw, you know, listen, Holland does what Holland does. Kev, you know, he talks and he knocks people out. He knocks Santi out. You can argue maybe a little bit of an early stoppage, but when you go fight, you know, face down, when you face plant, they're always going to stop it. Santi can only, you know, hey, if you didn't want it to get stopped, don't get rocked. All right, you want no stoppage, don't get rocked. You've been alright, but it is what it is. Kev gets it done. His leg was about to be mushed, so probably opportunistic for him to get that done in round 3, but nonetheless, Kev Holland gets the win. He's back on track. He's been much better, I think, since going to 170. And to round up the rest of this UFC 287 card, which was very good. Back to the hype trains. Raul Rosas Jr., the youngest winner in the history of the UFC. The 18-year-old found out. Around and found out. He fucked around and found out. Christian Rodriguez, also very highly rated. A little bit older, though. A little bit older than young Rosas. And, you know, it looked like an older brother beating up on their little brother, honestly. Rosas was relentless. Relentless in that first round. But his inexperience showed. He's skillful, and I think he'll be all right after this loss. He just needs time. He can one day be a very, 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 very good fighter. But his inexperience showed. Instantly went for the grapple, because that's his one way of winning. Is trying to wrestle you to the ground, going on a submission, yada, yada, yada. But Rodriguez stayed composed. He didn't worry. He didn't, you know, show any type of like, oh boy, I'm in trouble. Stayed calm, cool, and relaxed throughout. Showed off some great takedown defense, some great submission defense. And in the second round, he took control of this fight. After Rosas gassed out, after the flurry and the relentless, thought he was Marab in round 1. Gassed out, and Rodriguez many times could have probably put this fight away, whether by strikes or by choking him out. But I don't know, out of respect or what it was, he treated him like an older brother would do a younger brother and just beat him up. He just beat him up. He sunned him. He sunned him. Rosas got sunned, which is fitting because he's only 18 and literally just turned 18. He got sunned. He got sunned in this fight. Could have put him to sleep, but nah. I'm just gonna beat you down. Just gonna beat you down. Give you a chance, you know. Let you take less damage. No head trauma. But yeah, Rahm made a statement. Was overweight though, so work on that. We'll talk, but Rosas, I ain't gonna be fine, but nonetheless, that's what happened. Gastelum, UD's Curtis, that was a war. Shout out to our favorite Fridge at 185. Good to see him get a win. Great guy. Shout out to Gastelum. Karate Hottie got robbed. Okay, she got robbed. And that's all I really need to say about that. UFC 287 though, fantastic card. Super exciting. The King is back. Izzy gets it back in blood versus Alex. That was a euphoric moment, but yeah, that was UFC 287. And we got a little bit of boxing before I end off. All right, before we end off the segment, a little bit of boxing for you. All right, Shakur Stevenson, he fought once again at 135. And what was, I mean, listen, Yoshida was never beating him. Shaq got him done in 6. It wasn't close. He looked untied. He looked like Floyd out there, all right? It was just, it wasn't levels, all right? There's levels. Shaq needs to be fighting the other, like, 4 princes, okay? He doesn't need to be fighting Yoshida, okay? No. Or Loma, like, that's who Shaq should be in there against, not Yoshida, okay? So it was essentially just like a tune-up fight, just to stay in condition and show off his skills, build hype. We'll see where Shaq goes next. Of course, we got Tank versus Ryan, and we got Loma versus Haney. Probably gets the winner of Loma versus Haney if I had to guess. But we'll see what happens. But yeah, Shaq does what Shaq does. Sebastian Fundora, everybody's favorite slender man, got knocked out in pretty vicious fashion. He got his super welterweight title stripped. I mean, taken off his carcass. Mendoza put that boy to sleep. To sleep. To sleep. Man felt like a tree. which is fitting because he's 6'5", fighting at 150 or 160. All right, so that's gonna happen. But nonetheless, shout out to Mendoza, impressive knockout, real David versus Goliath, not in terms of odds, but just in terms of size. But yeah, Fundora gets knocked out, big surprise. We'll see where he goes from here. Of course, boxing losses are not everything; they're not the end of the world. So we'll see what happens there. But yeah, Shaq does what Shaq does. Mendoza with the upset, and that was combat sports. Now, that leads me to entertainment, and that leads me to an unofficial water break sponsored by Deer Park. Not actually, because this is going to be a very emotional. It was a very emotional episode of Succession yesterday. Spoiler alert, okay? Because this is a really big spoiler. So if you have not watched Succession yet, or the last episode, or you're starting Succession and you're not on this season, go, alright? Go. Because this is a massive spoiler that will ruin one of the biggest moments of the series. Probably one of the biggest moments in telling you, okay? So go. Alright, I'm going to give you 5 more seconds. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I hope you're gone. Okay. What just happened? Alright, what just happened in episode 3 of Succession? Okay? It's a testament to how well they wrote Logan Roy as a character, how well they've done with him as a character, and getting over the doom around him and just the aura around Logan, that I spent the entire episode, even when they were like, yeah, he's dead. When he came off the airplane in a body bag, I was still waiting for the shoe to drop. Like, it took me the entire episode, despite them being like, yeah, he's dead. You know, Shiv, Kendall, everybody's crying, right? And it still took me the entire episode to be like, yo, yeah, he's dead. Wait, he's dead? Like, really dead? Or, I was waiting. It took me by surprise, which is fitting, though. And it's good writing because that's how people die in her life, right? It's unexpected. Unless it's like a sickness or an act, right? It's unexpected. It's unglamorous and it's fitting for Logan Roy, right? He died neglecting his children, deciding not to go to his son's wedding, to go handle some business, to go chase that X dollar. A fitting Logan Roy end. He didn't die with all the glory. He died neglecting his children for money. A fitting end. On a toilet. But I was confused. I was like, did I zone out for a second? Because all of a sudden it was just chaos. Like, it was just like, one moment he's hopping on the plane, we're getting ready for the deal, you know, Skarsgård's character, you know, and we're like, okay. And then all of a sudden, it's like, hey, yo, Logan's in trouble, he's not doing well, Tom's calling. I'm just like, okay, this has to be a ploy, some type of sympathy. He's trying to gaslight or manipulate his children. And I did not believe them until I saw Logan getting chest compressions. That is not when it started to hit that, wait, is he really dying? Is he actually going to die? Are they actually about to kill Logan Roy? And oh my goodness, they killed Logan Roy. So yeah, absolutely insane. Everybody started spiraling. Reverting back. After the kids showed all of that fortitude, and except for really Roman last week, because he almost turned. Everybody, showing the, we hate dad, and they just crumbled. They just crumbled. It was an incredible, and it was just such good television. It was such good storytelling. The way they reverted back to the love of their dad after everything, after all the manipulation, the gaslighting. Kendall literally said, I love you, but I can't forgive you for what you've done. Shiv went back to daddy's girl. Roman breaking down. Even Connor breaking down. Even though the first thing he said was woefully tragic, which is he never loved me anyway. Just everybody. His employees looking lost on the tarmac. Gary, it was an insane episode. Insane episode. And probably one of the best episodes of television I've seen. If I had HBO Max, I'd rewatch it, but I had to watch it live. But yeah, insane. Insane. I was in disbelief. I couldn't believe it. I mean, I couldn't believe it. I'm still almost waiting for the shoe to drop. And for next week, Logan to just appear out of nowhere and be like, ha, got you. So I don't know. It's just absolutely one of the shocking, but what an episode. All of the Emmys, but yeah, man. Logan is dead, I guess. In music, though, we had Drake officially dropped Rescue Me. Alright, so official cover this time popped up. They fucked up the mix. Alright, they messed up the mix. Okay, they effed it up. Binks went back and fixed it. But I think that hampered a little bit of the initial reaction to the song. Because even I was like, hold on, this don't sound the same that it did in the leak and on the radio version of the YouTube versions I've been listening to for the past week. So yeah, but they went back and fixed it. So yeah, Search and Rescue. We'll see if it goes #1. I think it's competing with Morgan Wallen. So we'll see what happens there. But yes, Rescue Me finally out. We talked about it last week, so I won't say too much. He also premiered At the Gates, so I don't know if that means At the Gates is coming next week for Uzi, but we'll see. But yeah, feels a lot like Care Package 2 or Dark Lane Demos 2 is coming. But we'll see what Drake is doing, or maybe he's just dropping music because he can. But yeah, Search and Rescue, y'all know I loved it. Talked about it last week. Hot Boy feat Nardo and Baby. This also came out next week, but for some reason it only showed up on my new releases this week, so we're talking about it now. Fire, alright, fire track. Nardo has really, over these past couple months with the features, has really started. I really started getting him. Like, even when he blew up last year, I was like, I ain't cool. I kind of see the appeal, but I didn't really get it. I'm gonna be honest. I didn't really get it. I didn't really buy into the hype. I'm starting to buy into the hype a little bit more after this feature run he's on with these collabs. Him and Baby floated on this. They were fantastic. Great track. Hot Boy. I think there's a music video to it too. But yeah, Baby. Seems like he's eating up for an album as well. But yeah, him, Nardo, they did their thing. Shrimp Life 4 came out, or Shrimp 4 Life, as they titled it. Where Shrimp is back. I didn't get to listen to it. I heard it was pretty good though, so I might go back and listen to it and see. And maybe next week I come back with a rating. But I heard it was pretty good. I was waiting to see what the consensus was, even though I don't really like to rely on the public to influence my musical decisions or what I'm going to listen to. But I wanted to see the overall reception. Was it trash? Is it worth my time? Or is it good? Are they back? And it was overall generally positive, so I'll probably check that out, and yeah, I'll let you know how it was. But yeah, Shrimp for Life came out. Y'all can let me know if you listen to it. If y'all liked it, Coachella is this weekend. So for all of you that spent thousands of dollars going to California, have fun, be safe, go Blackpink. The National Basketball Association's regular season has concluded. It has concluded. And while I pull up the standings, let's talk G League, all right? We don't usually talk G League in this NBA segment, but we're going to talk it now. Because, oh my goodness, the Delaware Bluecoats, with Mac McClung and Jaden Springer acting like the greatest duo the G League's ever seen, swept the finals and got the win. Then they showed up the next day to play for the Sixers. Because, of course, the Sixers had absolutely nothing to play for, which means the last couple games is the G League showcase. But yeah, Springer, who ended up winning Finals MVP, dropped 40 in game 1. Then McClung came back, dropped 30 in, I think, both games. They were great as a duo. McClung really took a jump this year. But have faith in your young players, all right? Have faith in your young players. I think Springer and McClung will be NBA players, and probably for a good little while. At the very least, Springer, of course, I think with a little bit more star potential because they're a little bit younger, a little bit better, overall skill base than McClung, but still very good players. They showed up this year in the G. They got the ring. They got the ring. Also, Kenny Lofton, Grizzlies, sign him permanently, leak him permanently. I know everybody had this worry about his size and anything. When a guy is dominant, he's dominant. And dominance usually translates. In whatever fashion, dominance usually translates. So he was dominant in college, he was dominant in the G League, it's probably going to translate to the league. Now I know it was the last game of the season, like I said, it's a G League showcase, but the man dropped 42 and 14. Permanently. Permanently put him on the NBA team. Alright, listen, no discussion. He dropped 40. He's ready. He's ready, Grizz. He's ready. Okay? Shout out to Kenny Lofton. Just how to get my, how to show my appreciation. Let's talk playoffs and in the play-in, really. like we said last week, the East was pretty much wrapped up. No real big surprises. And again, the play-in pretty much played out exactly as expected. The Pacers ended up 5 games back, so that was pretty much done and dusted from the start. Miami, almost. But ran out of time to catch Brooklyn, and Brooklyn escapes the play-in. So Miami will play Atlanta, and Toronto will play Chicago. Of course, that Toronto and Chicago game is win or go home. Miami, Atlanta, winner wins the 7th seed. Loser will play the winner of the Toronto-Chicago game for the 8th seed. Other matchups we have, Philly versus Brooklyn. I think Philly's got that one. Cleveland versus New York is going to be very interesting. On paper, Cleveland should win, but New York has been able to surprise. Brunson has been fantastic. Randall has looked legitimate as well, so we'll see what happens there. I think the Cavs have a better team. They gotta show up. All right, big time moment for Spider. Big time moment for Spider. Can really determine where we're ranking him next year in terms of players in the league, because he's been great this year. Average near 30. If he didn't average 30, he's been very good. And a lot of people are like, "Yo, that's what the Cavs needed to put them over the hump." So we're gonna see. We're gonna see in this series and in this playoff run. We're gonna see where the Cavs are and where Spider is as a player. So that's gonna be very interesting. Of course, Milwaukee and Boston await the winner of the play-in. The West. Now let's talk about the Lakers. All right, let's talk about some games. All right, yesterday they played the Suns. Absolutely needed it. Absolutely needed to get that 7th seed, get the home game, so you can win and get that 7th seed and potentially play Memphis. Had to get it done. They beat the Phoenix Suns. Bron just came back from Portland, flew in, dropped 30-something, drew on the throne, 3-point shots back. The Kings looking in fine form, and the Lakers are healthy. Things are looking up. Shout out to Bronny as well, Nike Hoop Summit. I wasn't planning to talk about that, but yeah, that was excellent game actually between the world and the U.S. Bronny is legitimate. I've been telling, really no surprise if you've been watching me. I've been saying that for years. Mac Mbaku was fantastic for the world team. Dre had a better game than he did at McDag. Collier looked like Collier. DJ was not as good as he was at McDag in that second half at least. So we'll see where he kind of ends up. Justin Edwards was okay. But yeah, overall good game. Shout out to Team USA. They got the win. But yeah, Bron shows up, gets it done. If they'd beaten the Clippers, this would have been very interesting because they might have avoided the play-in. But took the L. Nonetheless, they top the play-in. They will be facing the Minnesota Timberwolves because the Timberwolves are in dysfunction. They played the Pelicans, by the way, for this seed yesterday. Brandon Ingram had 40, but it wasn't enough. Minnesota escaped with a win, but not with damage being done to their team chemistry. Rudy Gobert apparently has never been liked. I don't know what it is with Rudy, but people just do not like Rudy. He punched Anderson. Video got leaked with him saying you got to make a decision. So yeah, the Timberwolves are in turmoil heading into this matchup. So not great at all. So we'll see what happens there. But yeah, Lakers taking on Minnesota. That'll be a very interesting game nonetheless. And the Pelicans will take on OKC in the winner go home. SJ was talking to, which understandable. Nobody really thought, let's be honest, that OKC was going to be here, but here they are. Very big game for them. Pelicans, again, another big game. Big game for both of those. OKC has a little bit less to lose because they weren't supposed to be here anyway, but they can make a statement. The Pelicans cannot lose this game. Not just because they'll get eliminated, but it would be an embarrassment. After what was expected of them and where they were earlier in the season, even with Zion gone, it would be embarrassing for them to lose here in the play-in. So, yeah, we'll see what happens there. Lakers, Minnesota is going to be very interesting. The Lakers have been so volatile. They've been playing well recently, but been very volatile. The Timberwolves have also won 3 straight, so we'll see what happens there. Winner will play Memphis. And the loser of that game will play the winner of that Pelicans-Thunder game to see who faces Denver. Memphis is a little bit more susceptible without Steven Adams and some of the injuries they've got going on. So we'll see. They could get clipped. The West is going to be very interesting. Very interesting. Because, oh boy, some of these matchups. There was a lot of movement on this last day. A lot. The Kings will play the Warriors. So the defending champions face the Kings. The Kings get a chance to prove whether they are legit or not, or if this was all a fluke. And I am so sorry you have to play the Warriors in round 1. So we go find that out in round 1. That's gonna be a heater. All right, that's gonna be very interesting. Are we lighting the beam, or is it still the Warriors? Is it still their era? Okay. And then the the Suns and the Clippers. Because of how the Clippers closed, because of the Suns taking that L, we end up with a Clippers-Suns matchup here in round 1, which is going to be very, very interesting. Very interesting. KD's back. KD's back. Kawhi will probably be playing. I mean, you never know nowadays, but I would assume. PG, of course, is back. It's going to be very interesting, boys. It's going to be very interesting. I don't know who's going to win this one. Phoenix should be the better team, but they've lost 2 straight. The Clippers got hot at the end of the season, closed really well. So we're going to see. We're going to see. It's going to be very interesting. The Suns, boy, would this be embarrassing if y'all lost. The Clippers, window of opportunity is closing, so it's now or never. It's now or never for that team. It's going to be very interesting. Right? The West, infinitely at the moment, currently more exciting than the East. Though I think once we get to these like second rounds and some of these top teams in the East, the West was a lot more balanced. The East, had the best of the best up here, and then you kind of had the rest. I think once we get to that second round for the East, it's going to get a little bit more interesting. The West, though, like I said all year, it's a bloodbath. It's a bloodbath. It's going to be interesting from the start to the end. So, yeah, that's the playoffs. I'm very excited. It's one of the best times of the year. NBA playoff time. Let's get it. Let's get it. And with that said, ladies and gentlemen, we have reached the roundup in my Bristol dirt. All right, let's talk racing. We always start. It's tradition at this point. We start the roundup with racing. NASCAR this week. F1 will be back next week. Bristol dirt. Always one of the, and ever since its inception, one of the most interesting, and probably one of the most fun races to watch. Honestly, just because it's a dirt track, right? These cup cars on a dirt track. It's pretty cool, right? Almost. We almost got our second win. 23-11. We almost got it. We almost got it. I was prepared to send the victory text, but it wasn't to be. Chris Bell gets it done. He was great all day long. Even with all, and it was muddy. Normally it's muddy because of the nature of the race, but as y'all know, probably depending on where you live, if you live in the States, it was a monsoon going on pretty much this entire weekend, so everything was getting rained out. My poor track athletes, I had to try to run in just terrible weather this past weekend. But yeah, Chris Bell gets it done. I believe that's his first one of the season, or is that CB's second? I think it's his first of the season. But anyways, he's really turned it on. I gotta give credit where credit's due. He is really, he was pretty highly rated when he jumped up to the Cup Series coming out of Xfinity, but he's really made that jump over the past 2 years, and he's really become, honestly, like a top 10 driver, I dare say, in the game right now. So, yeah, shout out to C-Bell. He gets it done at Bristol Dirts. John Rahm, number one golfer in the world right now, the Spaniard, becomes the 5th Spaniard to win the Masters. Get the man his green jacket. All right, he's the world number 1, and he proved it this past weekend. Brooks Koepka, by the way, choked. Choked. Had a nightmare final round, and just everything unraveled. Rahm has been consistent, as he has been pretty much the past 2 years, has been consistently great. And he was great at the Masters. He finishes with a 12 under and gets it done. Special shout out as well to old man Phil. He finished, tied for 3rd. So, yeah, great outing for Mickelson, who was in contention. Jordan Spieth came alive and took 4th in the last round. So, yeah, Rahm, once again, get his green jacket. He's the best of the game right now. Undisputed. Undisputed. He's the best. We'll see if he keeps it up. But, yeah, another major title for Rahm. He gets it done at the Masters. Let's talk now. Let's talk hockey. Let's talk hockey. All right, it's been a little bit. We talked about McDavid a little bit though this year. We've talked about this other team I'm about to talk about. The Boston Bruins have officially broken the NHL wins record. They're 2 points away from the points record, but yeah, they've been the team with a capital THE team. Okay. 63 wins NHL record. They have to be the overwhelming favorite, even though the playoffs is always different from the regular season, as we know in sports. But they have been the dominant team. They have to be the favorite. Lars Ulmark has been just, you can't score on him. Pasta scored 60 goals this season. First time since the 90s, by the way. Since like 94, 95, I think. Where 2 people scored 60 goals plus. So, yeah. Pasta has been pasta. Listen, Boston has been rolling. They've been rolling. Overwhelming favorite for the Stanley Cup. We'll see what actually happens when we get to it. But, yeah. Bruins break the NHL wins record. McDavid becomes, I think, the fifth man to ever hit 150. Lemieux, Gretzky, Esposito, Yzerman, McDavid. So yeah, fifth man to ever hit 150. Passed 150 as well because he had a 2-goal game. But yeah, McDavid. What else can we say? It's McJesus. The name speaks for itself. He's the best in the world. Generational talent. All the superlatives we've ever said about Connor McDavid. He will win MVP yet again this year, but yeah, well deserved. McDavid doing McDavid things. Unfortunately, the Edmonton Oilers are just garbage. Okay, they're garbage. They're the Los Angeles Angels of the NHL. Which, if you're a baseball fan and you also follow the NHL, you will understand that analogy. And to conclude, Odell Beckham Jr. has been signed. He's been signed. He was also at the UFC event along with everybody else. But he signed with the Baltimore Ravens, so maybe Lamar will stay. Maybe Lamar will stay. At the very least, he will play. But yeah, they finally get him a #1 receiver. It took long enough. It took long enough. I know y'all tried to draft some guys and develop them, but they were Max Cap, Bateman, and Hollywood were going to be #2 guys. Let's be honest, all right? Let's be real. Getting OBJ is a big step in the right direction. We'll see what happens, though. That might get Lamar to stay, but they still got to figure out the contract. But nonetheless, we'll see what happens. But OBJ going to the Ravens, huge move. Might be the first domino that knocks down a couple. Of course, we still got the stalemate between the Packers and the Jets over Rodgers. So we'll see what happens there. But yeah, OBJ headed to Baltimore, headed to the DMV. We'll see what happens there. But yeah, without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, that is it for episode 140. I hope you guys enjoyed. The King is back. The King is back. And yeah, we'll see what happens. Playoff time is here.